before the fantasy basketball season. And here's a few centers I look to add this week. The first guy, Drew Eubanks of the San Antonio Spurs, so he qualifies as powered forward and center in fantasy basketball. And this season, the numbers aren't all that great yet. 4.4 points a game, 3.9 boards, 1.2 assists, 1.1 blocks a game, 45% from the field. But right now, his playing time's gone up over the last few games here from 5 minutes and jumped all the way to 20 minutes the last few. So November 3rd versus Dallas, 10 points, 5 boards, and assists, 3 blocks, 40% from the field. November 5th at the Magic, 5 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block, 20% from the field. And yesterday at the Thunder, 14 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, and 87% from the field. So right here, Drew Eubanks, we've seen flashes from him in the past, but right now, he's a guy that's getting playing time over the last 3 games, and he's contributing to fantasy owners and obviously the Spurs, and he's been added in 6% of fantasy leagues over the last few days, but he's still out there in 94% of leagues, and I would give him an ad this week. The next center is Hassan Whiteside of the Utah Jazz. So Whiteside, I mentioned a few weeks ago as a wait was Whiteside. So on the season here for Whiteside, 6.6 points a game, 7.7 boards, 1.6 blocks, 58% from the field. So Whiteside, we know he's a rebounder and a field goal percentage specialist and shot blocker. So right here, he'll give you those categories, and not much scoring, obviously, but if you could sacrifice the scoring part of things, he's definitely a player that can help you in those other categories like I mentioned, and I would give him an ad this week. So the last few games here for Whiteside, November 4th at the Hawks, 2.7 boards, a steal, 3 blocks, 50% from the field. November 6th at the Heat, 6 points, 8 boards, an assist, a block, 75% from the field. And November 7th at the Magic, he had a good double-double, 12 points, 10 boards, a block, and 55% from the field. So right here, he's definitely an athletic center. We know he can block shots. We know he can rebound. And he'll help you in field goal percentage. Just the scoring and obviously three-point shooting ain't going to be his specialty. But right now, he's available in 58% of fantasy leagues. And I would give him an ad this week. The next center is Bobby Portis of the Milwaukee Bucks, so a fan favorite off the bench over there in Milwaukee. We saw him come back from injury last week as Portis, and so far 9.8 points a game, 6 boards for him, a block a game, and 38% from the field. So right now that shooting percentage isn't where you want it to be, but right here he's knocking the rust off here as Portis, and he's looked pretty good the last few games from November 2nd at the Pistons, 12 points, 8 rebounds, a steal, a block, a 3, 38% from the field. November 5th versus the Knicks, 6 points, 8 boards, an assist, 2 blocks, 33% from the field. And November 7th at the Wizards yesterday, a nice double-double, 13 points, 13 boards, 2 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, and a 3 with 35% from the field. So a full stat line in that ball game from Portis. And Portis, like I mentioned, he's like their 6th man over there in Milwaukee, playing anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes a game. And he's definitely a guy that can help you in many categories. And he's available in 51% of fantasy leagues. The next center I've looked at this week is Serge Ibaka of the Los Angeles Clippers. So Serge Ibaka just came back from injury here, made his season debut. And we know what Ibaka is capable of. He'll help you in blocking shots, decent rebounder, and he's a stretch 5 that could hit some threes as well. So far in the early going for Ibaka in his first game returning, he didn't do much versus the Charlotte Hornets, but right here, he got added in 14% of leagues. He's going to take some time to get the rust off. He's only going to be playing 10-15 minutes to start off the few games before he gets into playing shape. But right here, Serge Ibaka definitely can make an impact. The Clippers, they paid him a decent amount of money, and he's going to get playing time. So once he rounds into shape, he definitely could have fantasy value, in my opinion, and he's available right now in 78% of fantasy leagues. And the 5th and final center I look to get is Daniel Tyson of the Houston Rockets. I've mentioned Daniel Tice as an ad a couple weeks ago, and now Tice, he's getting an opportunity once again after coming back from injury a few games ago. On the season for Tice, 9 points a game, 5 boards, 0.7 threes a game, and 48% from the field. But the last 2 games since he returned here is Tice. November 6th at Denver, 18 points, 5 boards, 2 steals, a 3, 66% from the field. November 7th at the Warriors, 8 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, a block, 2 threes, and 75% from the field. So right here, he's playing a decent amount of minutes over here in Houston. He's available right now in 81% of fantasy leagues, and he's a player that we know is physical. We know he can rebound. He'll get a block and a half a game, and he's playing good minutes, like I mentioned. So right now, if you need kind of a center that could give you 3 or 4 categories, Daniel Tice is definitely worth a shot in my opinion. So that's a few centers I've looked to add here in week 4 of the fantasy basketball season.